Okay, so in our previous videos, we focused on looking for the best used or second-hand car on Facebook Marketplace. So we have already covered looking specifically for a used Toyota RAV4, a used Honda CRV, and then cars between 100,000 to 150,000 pesos, used SUVs below 5,000 US dollars or 300,000 pesos. And then we also covered specifically for the Ford SUVs, especially the Ford Everest. This time around, we will switch things up a bit, and instead of going on to Facebook Marketplace, we will focus on some used car dealerships, especially in the Cebu area. So why do I recommend a used car dealer to find a good second-hand car? So the good thing about going through a used car dealer is that you have a wide range of options, and then these dealerships can also offer you some flexible payment options if you cannot afford to pay for the car in cash. And also they also give you a lot of freebies, such as a free oil change, some free maintenance services, and you can also even come back to them a month or so later if you have some complaints, but it depends upon the dealer that you go through. So just full disclosure, we also bought our RAV4 through a used car dealer, and the car dealer we went to was Grand Luisa Car Trading in Cebu City. And I'm not in any way advertising them, but I do find from time to time that they still sell some very good models of used cars in Cebu City. So just looking at them first, you can see that they are selling some popular models like the Mitsubishi L300. We also have a Toyota Fortuner, and then a Mitsubishi Montero Sport. So these are some very popular models, and I think right off the bat, I think these are some diesel-powered vehicles, and not good timing, I know, but these are one of the best vehicles in terms of long-term ownership, right? That's why they are so popular in the Philippines. And let's take a look at this L300 first. So in the Philippines, the L300 is one of the most versatile vehicles. You're not gonna buy this car if you want ultimate comfort. What you want out of this truck, this cargo van, is that you want the utmost utility. And they're kind of akin to in the US, where they have the Ford Transit Connect. The Ford Transit is sold in three different sizes. We have the T150, 250, and 350, and all three vary in size and capability. So those Ford Transits are way more capable than the utility trucks we have here, but the L300 itself offers a lot of capability. As you can see, I think this is just a base model of this L300 with steel rims here, not exactly aluminum alloy. Still, if you're looking for utility, the L300 is a good vehicle, and I think they sell this for 548,000, which is a pretty solid price for an 8-year-old, 9-year-old vehicle. And they also have, let's take a look at this Fortuner that they have. It's sold for about 1 million pesos, which is, I think, in dollars, that's around 16,500 US dollars. It's still pretty expensive for a used car, but the thing about Fortuners is that they hold their value very well because they're durable and don't need a lot of maintenance. The only issue is that, especially for today with diesel really expensive, you might find it hard to own a vehicle that's powered by diesel. But I understand why the selling price is this way, and even if you can't afford the cash price for this, they do offer some amortization here, and I think this is one of yeah, it's also it's a V model. So the V variant for the Fortuner is, I think it's the top of the line for the Toyota Fortuner. So they have, I believe, the E and the G. I think the V is the top of the line variant, which is no surprise why. It has all these features like keyless entry. Oh, well, that's been a standard feature for many years now. But they do have all the bells and whistles and all the entertainment and convenience features here, including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So this variant specifically for the Fortuner is no surprise that it's still sold at 1 million. And you also have a Montero Sport here, or a Pajero Sport, which is sold at just under 600,000 pesos, which I understand is still expensive for a second-hand car, and it's 13 years old. But then you get you also have a lot of features here for this Montero, but the only thing is it's a manual transmission, and it can be a bit difficult to live with a manual transmission if you live in the city. Okay, aside from that, they also have a wide range of vehicles, like smaller cars like the Suzuki Ertiga, which is an MPV. And they also have, oh, it's the same. Yeah. They also have an MG, which is a relatively new model, 2024 MG. So I wonder, wow, just 2 years off brand new, and it's already selling at this price. So it's also a manual transmission. You kind of wonder what the issues are with the MGs, why they lose so much value. If you know the answer, just let me know in the comments. Okay, so that's a bird's eye view of this used car dealer. There's also another popular car dealership, used car dealer in Cebu City, and that's Big Luke Auto. They're located near Ayala. I used to pass by them almost every day before, especially if you're going to the IT park. It's hard to miss this dealership with their display, and they even sell this really good Mazda 3. It's relatively new, just 2024, and also a Suzuki Carry-All. So they also have relatively new, not necessarily the 5 to 10-year-old vehicles. Even this one, it's not necessarily that old. Okay, so this is a 2023 Nissan Terra, and it's 1.5 million. Yeah, so Nissan Terra, I believe this is I think this is a diesel model for Nissan Terra. I'm not so sure. 1.6 million pesos. It's still a mighty expensive car for a second-hand car. Yeah. Then we also have Big John Trading, which is also another dealership in Cebu, but not in Cebu City. So they have here at the top of their page is a Nissan Almera, and it's a manual transmission. So if you ask me, a manual transmission for these modern Nissans is actually better than some of their CVTs, because Nissan was notorious for having CVTs that did not last very long, and they even issued I think a recall, and they faced a lot of lawsuits with their CVT, or their continuously variable transmission. So the design of their CVT was that it was a belt-based CVT, which is different from what Toyota uses, which is the planetary gear set. That's why Toyota markets it as an eCVT, and sometimes you miss the E there. If you just go on you see a brochure from Toyota, and you see the higher end models having a CVT, it's actually an eCVT, which has its origins with the Toyota Prius, and they've been using that transmission design for a very long time with the Prius, and that's why it has a pedigree of being reliable, especially when compared to modern belt-based CVTs like the ones you see in 2010s Nissan. You have to be careful with the Nissan sedans or Nissan SUVs that you see that come with a CVT. But this one's a manual and it costs 615,000. That's still pretty expensive for a 6-year-old car, but it does look like it's in good condition. The second car is a Geely Coolray. So the Geely Coolray is one of the more popular subcompact SUVs that I see around in Cebu City and maybe in the Philippines as a whole. So aside from the Japanese brands with their crossovers, so the Geely Coolray is one of the top choices here, even if it's a Chinese brand. And I know Geely acquired Volvo a few years back, and that marriage in the two brands has resulted in both brands actually becoming better. And I think Geely is one of the better Chinese brands that you can look to. And the complaint that I did find with some of the Coolrays is that they're not necessarily the best in gas in terms of being a small SUV, but this is what you can expect from traditional gas-powered crossovers with their massive wheels. So if you have a very massive, very big size of the rims, you can expect your fuel economy to not be that great unless you're a hybrid. So this one is a crosswind. I don't think it's a Sportivo, but it's a 13-year-old crosswind. And so crosswind is known to be one of the more reliable, more fuel efficient MPVs that you can find in the market. They're not the quickest, but they do offer a lot of good utility, especially if you fold down the second row seats. You can get a good amount of cargo space. Yeah, and they have the setup, which is popular with the Mitsubishi Adventure. What is this? Is this like a 9-seater even? So you can fit a lot of people inside, especially if you have like kids that can, teenagers that can fit on the third row, and even some space for cargo because of the setup. Not exactly the safest setup, but if you're just driving around the Philippines with busy traffic, not a lot of on low speeds, just cruising or just moving around the town, just carrying the family, it's not inherently unsafe to have this kind of setup. Alright, so they also have some MGs here that are relatively new. So MGs are essentially, these are not the MGs from old, which are purely British, but when I see an MG, I just think Chinese car, but I'm not judgy when it comes to Chinese car, but they do have some quality issues and reliability issues. So this one is a Kia Sportage, and a 10-year-old Kia Sportage selling at 735,000. So it's a bit expensive, and it's a diesel. So this Kia Sportage has managed to hold its value really well. When we were browsing Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V models, I believe that 10 to 12-year-old compact crossover SUVs were in the 500 to 600,000 peso range, or even below 500,000. So I think this is a bit expensive for a Kia Sportage. Yeah. Alright, so that's what you can find in some of these used car dealers. I wonder if other used car dealers have a wider range of options, especially if you want a smaller car like the Suzuki Celerio, which is a good car when it comes to fuel economy. Smaller engine, small wheels, although it's not a hybrid, you can expect pretty good fuel economy for these cars if you just need to go from point A to point B. Yeah, so you can find a lot of options, not just on Facebook Marketplace, but also from used car dealers that you can find their listings online.